What's up, everybody? This is JT Corona on the mic, bringing you another hard-hitting episode of Blind Whiskey Tasting. How's it going, guys? Yeah, today we have a special episode going into my birthday. We have ourselves a couple bottles that I don't have a lot of experience with. In fact, one of them I have never tried before. Looking forward to it. Today's episode, we have Knob Creek 9-year going up against one of our old favorites, Early Times Bottled and Bond, versus, never tried it before, Wild Turkey 101. I've heard a lot of good things about this one, and I can't wait to try it. As always, we have three glasses, or we have the glasses in front of us. In front of us, we have one glass that is green. That will be our Knob Creek. We have our blue, which is our Early Times Bottled and Bond. And of course, we have the deep pink, which is the Wild Turkey 101. Yeah, just to kind of get into it a little bit, Knob Creek, Early Times, and Wild Turkey 101, all considered to be really great, not even entry level. I wouldn't exactly call them entry level. Anything getting beyond that $30 price tag, now you're starting to taper into that middle tier, now you know what you're talking about kind of whiskey, right? There's a lot of great whiskey that's for under $30, even under $25, right? Last episode, we tried one of them, being the Benchmark Old No. 8. And of course, our Early Times Bottled and Bond, if you were to average it down to a 750 milliliter as opposed to the 1 milliliter, or what should I say, 1,000 milliliter bottle that this is, it comes in under $25 for said bottle. So we're putting it up against a couple bottles that are actually a little bit higher in price. Wild Turkey 101, the one that we haven't tried quite yet, just kind of read into it a little bit. For more than 60 years, the legendary master distiller at Jim Russell has been crafting Wild Turkey 101 one way, the right way. With a high rye content, and that's one thing I'll be watching for, that rye spice, to see if I can detect that going into this tasting. This iconic bourbon is perfectly aged for up to 6 to 8 years in American oak barrels with the deepest char for more character. We bottled 101 proof only once it reached its full complex of flavor of caramel, vanilla, toffee, and spice. As Jimmy says, like the Kentucky River, Wild Turkey 101 is mighty, bold, and it takes its own sweet time. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. So yeah, like I said, we have those three bottles kind of going into it. That's the one I haven't tried yet. Knob Creek, as you can see, I put a little bit of a dent into this bottle. This is the 9-year age statement, small batch. And of course, our Bottled and Bond, Early Times, we all know from the past, at least 4 years on that one, being that it's Bottled and Bond. All these whiskeys are either 100 or 101 proof, so they're all right in the same wheelhouse, right? The same spice power profile, the alcohol punch, I should say. But let's see how they do it. These are all very, very different. Like I said, these are a lot of the go-tos for a lot of people, right? And what I'm trying to do is I develop my taste and listen to the pros and hear what, most people out there say is good stuff. What I'm doing is I'm kind of playing, seeing what works for me, right? As a newer person to the scene, I wouldn't be surprised if my taste evolves over time, and maybe you'll take that journey along with me, right? Something like a Knob Creek, which I, kind of like the Dewar's last time, which I hopefully should have been able to get that Dewar's. I did get it right last time. That's probably going to be the outlier here. Again, I don't know what the Wild Turkey is going to be like. I've kind of heard that there's more of a kind of like a fruity, there's more taste to it as opposed to, that typical, charred American, like I said, charred American oak kind of barrel style, kind of lingers in that taste a little bit. The Knob Creek has it in spades, I felt like, felt like a stronger bourbon. I'll be honest, I wasn't as big a fan going into it. Not quite like the Early Times, which, brown sugar, banana, whatever you have, that kind of flavor, that kind of palate. That's what I came to like, right? I prefer that over the Knob Creek, but, there's nothing like a good old blind taste to see if I'm even right about this, to see if, comparing the two, comparing, contrasting, you're really kind of understanding the, the waves of flavor and everything that kind of comes into play, seeing just what hits me the right way, right? Let's see if I'm even correct with this. Let's see if I can even do this right. So like I said, got a little Knob Creek, got ourselves a little bit of Early Times, and we got ourselves our Wild Turkey 101. So let's do a little bit of mix and match, and you can trust me on this one. I don't know what's going on. Now, the fun thing about this is that you guys are going to be able to see when I'm drinking, when I'm not, right? Once you remember those colors, right? I try to make sure that the colors go along with what the bottle is, right? Knob Creek, I kind of think of woods, I think of trees, so I gave it the green. Early Times Bottled and Bond has a lot of blue on the label, so I went with the blue on that one. And of course, Wild Turkey, known for that red, gave it that red color right there. So yeah, we've gone ahead and mix these up. I have no idea what order they are in. I can see the color at the bottom through the paper. So let's jump right into it now that we're 5 minutes in. Take this first one, see what we got here. And I'm gonna do my absolute best not to look at the camera while I'm doing this. Now, I'm gonna air it out a little bit just so I can, let it breathe a little bit. The pros say don't exactly do this, but I really feel like you really get a blast of flavor and a blast of scent on the nose when you do this. So let's see what we got here. I don't know yet. Okay. What I think I should do for this episode is the opposite of what I did last time. Last time I smelt it, I drank it, I gave it a try. Let me go through all the noses first and maybe rank them in order of nose and then see if that translates to the palate, see if that translates to taste. Now, there's 3 critical spots in which I'm going to be grading these whiskeys. Obviously the nose, like I just said, the palate, like I just said, and the finish, right? I want something that has a good finish that leaves you feeling warm and fuzzy on the inside without, the ethanol burn that you sometimes get with the cheaper stuff, right? So as I smell this, just try my best. It smells good, don't get me wrong. It smells good. It smells familiar. What am I detecting? I was detecting some fruit too on top of the... I smell vanilla. And this kind of goes in that kind of like banana-y, kind of like going in that direction. So I wonder if that's my old go-to, but let's go to the next one. Take up a couple breaths of air, just kind of clear out the nose a little bit. Shake it up a little bit. As I do this, don't mind my fingers. I had a big long work day of changing out smoke detectors and I cut myself up a little bit. So let's see what we got here. Well, that's different. That's a little bit bolder. Ooh, strong fruit coming out of that one. I like that smell a lot, actually. I hate to say it. I mean, I'm going to go through this. I just said I liked it a lot, but I can't help but detect a little bit of acetone. I'm sorry. That's a bad thing to say, but I like everything else. Trust me. I mean, when we power through that, I'm sure it's a little bit ridiculous. I'm sure that's me being a little tough on it, but I did smell a little bit of acetone. I'm not going to lie. But yeah, that's a brighter one. That's a very fresh kind of try and detect you're kind of going in that kind of toffee. It's not quite caramel, like vanilla toffee. And then you throw fruit in there, like apple and that's a good smell. That's a really good smell. It smells very different. It makes me feel a little bit more confident in my guess on that first one of me thinking I know what it is. But I have a guess on that one. So let me, but before I say what that guess is, I think I know what the first 2 are. Let me swirl this one up around. If this one has a really strong whiskey, bourbon, charred oak, leather, with some spice on top of it. This has that kind of smell to it, then I think I know what I'm getting myself into with this. But let's see. Oh. I think that's it. Yeah, I think this is the Knob Creek. The most punchy smell out of all of them for sure. Yeah, that one punches the hardest in terms of the smell. They can definitely get my mouth watering a little bit. Just trying to detect what else I smell. Just one more time. All right. More vanilla, more caramel on that one. I'd say the first one is more of that, banana, a little bit of butterscotch maybe in it, a little bit of brown sugar. You're going that direction. I feel like the second one more had that, the vanilla. I detected toffee in that one. Definitely some apple, definitely some fruit influence. I'm having a hard time really picking it out. But that's what I kind of had for that one. And this one more time. Oat, wood, grain. Smells good though, don't get me wrong. It's not like I hate it, but it's definitely the strongest. It's definitely the most, it's a bourbon. That's a straight bourbon strong smell. And if it's what I think it is, then 9 years makes that happen. All right, so we're putting this out here. I think that this first one here is Wild Turkey. I think this middle one here, no, take that back. And the first one here is Early Times Bottled to Bond. I think that this one is the Wild Turkey that I've never tried before, and I think that this one is the Knob Creek. So what we're also going to do is we're going to give it a little taste, go back and forth, and make sure that I'm right. Let's see if I'm right. Let's see if I this one. Let's see if this one. Let's see what this one tastes like. It's the one I think I know. It's the one I think I know. It's the one I think I know. Right? So let's give it a try. I'm having see, I was so sure going into the smell that this was Early Times, but sometimes when you're, when you're not sure of yourself and you're looking for things that might not be there, sometimes the thing that you're looking for appears, and that's the wonder of, whiskey. Obviously it's going to lead with alcohol and char first and oak first, right? But it's those subtle, like, added elements that truly make each one different. And that, okay. I really lapped that one up a little bit. I think that one's the Early Times. It tastes good. Goes down good. I mean, all of these are going to have a bite to them. They're all 100 proof or 101 in the case of the Wild Turkey. But I'm sorry for the honking. It's not, I'm not going to say it's easy. It's not an easy drink by any means. But it's good. It's good. It's my go-to. It's my sipper. And this reminds me of my sipper. It's the one I like to go back to. This is the one I've stocked up on the most. I would be very surprised. Sorry about that. I'd be very surprised if you guys weren't seeing a blue label at the bottom of that cup. If you guys weren't. Let's go on to what I think is the Wild Turkey. Again, never having smelled this before, never having tried this before. So much brighter. So much brighter. Now, I might have accidentally, yeah, I just did. When I was looking at the camera, I kind of saw it going down. So I guess I've already confirmed right now that this one indeed is the Wild Turkey. This is the only one I know for sure now that I've seen the label at the bottom. And this was my guess. It had a much brighter kind of, it had a much more fruit forward kind of scent to it. So let's give it a taste. That one was very viscous, which is something I look for in a whiskey. I like a kind of subtly oily, kind of kind of dense, right? And it allows for it to go down to go down smoother while also maintaining that all the flavors. Now, what I forgot to do was take a little sip of water. So let me just cleanse the palate really quickly and give that one a second try before I say any more. Let's try it again. Smooth. It's smooth. Like, even when I was trying to do that right there, I was trying to kind of pop it up, hype it up a little bit. It stays subtle. Maybe it's a grape that I'm detecting, like an apple or a grape that I'm kind of detecting. It's good. It's good. I'm happy I got it. It's actually better than I thought it would be. It's better than I thought it would be. All right. Last one. I'm gonna try my best not to cheat, not to look at the label while I do this, but this is the one I thought was a Knob Creek. Let me just cleanse one more time. A little whiskey for the rest of us. See what this Knob Creek tastes like, if it's what I think it is. Let me take one more sip. Ooh, boy. Okay, so when I smelled it that time, I got a rush of brown sugar. See, now this reminds me of brown sugar, but not of the early times. So sometimes the early times I think of as like brown sugar. And that's one thing I've heard too. Like I've heard some people who tried this Knob Creek. They say it has some like a similar kind of like profile to early times. And a couple times I've had at the bottle. The times that I've had it, I've always felt it, a bit more harsher, a bit stronger. I wasn't able to quite pick out, the subtle things like the fruit and the sweet, if you will, in the middle of the taste, because I'm not exactly quite there yet. But what this also serves is a good example of what it's like to be a beginner and what it might taste for a beginner. And I kind of hear that often, that we usually go for the fresher, younger kind of bourbons and then build our way towards these kind of things, right? I use my pinky to hide it because I almost looked for a second. It's hard not to. It's so hard not to. From now on, I have to put my pinky there. You guys know what this is. You know what this is. Let me give it a taste. That's the Knob Creek. It finishes as hard. There's a hard finish to it. Now I'm sure people out there are like, come on, James, that's nothing. It's only 100 proof, it's just Knob Creek. What are you talking about? It definitely has the strongest finish of the three by a good margin. I'm really lapping it up now. Maybe a little bit of apple, a little bit. But maybe it's banana too. Maybe, again, it's a similar kind of like, it goes in the direction of the early time, just a bit harsher on all fronts. All right, let me continue doing this. I'm gonna take a little bit of sip of each one and see if I can put them in a ranking. Let's give it, let's give it a try. It's good. Now, I will say, the Wild Turkey is a fresh crack, and the early times in Knob Creek have had a little bit to breathe. So I might do this again. What I might do is in another video is I might bring Evan Williams Bottle and Bond into the fold and see how that compares. But for these, I have a pretty decent lineup. And they're all pretty different. I know that the Knob Creek in the early times, I keep saying that there's some similarity to them. They're very different. Knob Creek, if this is the Knob Creek right here. Yeah. Whew. Yeah, this would be like, they're similar. They're related, it feels like, but it'd be like the old, like, uncle. Oh, man. Whew, okay. Okay. I think I have it. All right. Third place, because I'm just not ready for it. I think I'm just not ready for it. Maybe one day I'll go up the ranks, but right now, unfortunately for it, third place is going to go to Knob Creek number 9. Fantastic whiskey. I see why a lot of people like it. If you're trying to find let's talk about it. What are the advantages to this one? Because there's nothing bad here. Let me backtrack for a second. There's not a single bad bourbon in front of me, nor will there probably ever be unless, we do a lot more with this, right? But if you're looking for a sophisticated, big cork, clean, pretty bottle with really, really fine, really dense, really, bourbon forward bourbon, if that makes any sense, right? Not relying on, other subtle cues and other subtle, fresh scents and everything. Looking for a man's bourbon. I feel like this is what it would be. I feel like this is like an old man's bourbon. Since 1992, so I'm actually older than this bottle. I'm actually older than this is, which is pretty funny. But yeah. Is this what I think it is? Here I am like ranking them already as if I already knew what these are. So, all right. So this is my order. It's going to be this, this, and this. This is my order. It's actually in the order that I had them in front of me. So number 3, it's green, right? Yes, that's what I thought. Number 3, Knob Creek, yeah. We have now confirmed that is indeed Knob Creek, yeah. Fantastic. I found it for $30. Usually it's around $35. I did find it for $30 at my local place, and there was 2 places where I know I can get it for about $30 or $31 up in Massachusetts. So I'm talking so much crap about it. Again, if I was, trying to impress somebody, and if I was going to have somebody over who I know likes bourbon, who I, is above my pay grade or whatever, I would probably leave with that one. If I'm trying to, do something cool, I'm probably leaving with that one, right? Second place is, I gave this glass right here. This is my second place. If it is what I think it is, this will be the Wild Turkey. And I need to do a little bit more research on this one. I need to give it a little bit more taste test. I need to, kind of build on it, see what it's like as it goes past the neck, goes down into the bottle, as air kind of fills into the bottle. But is this red? It's red. Okay, I wasn't too surprised by that one. This one, amazing nose. I smell like I'm smelling a flower. It smells like a flower. I know I said acetone before, but this is the one where I smell. It smells like I'm smelling a flower. I can get used to that. That is really good. And it doesn't spike. There is no spike. There is no alcohol spike. It is viscous. It feels good going down. It tastes good. The only thing, the taste is good. So, all right. It goes away. The taste kind of tastes like tea. It tastes like an herbal tea of some sort. That kind of lingering taste is kind of still there. But it does dissipate faster than the other two. I will say that. So if you're looking for, again, something that's going to stay with you, something that's like, oh, let's go, man, bourbon. Yeah, probably the Knob Creek is the direction I'm going to point you in. But for something that is just smooth, enjoyable, clean, in, out, here for a good time, not a long time, we're going to go with the Wild Turkey 101. This is fantastic. Which means that we were right. This is blue. This is indeed the early times 101s. 101. Bottled and Bond. Let me give this a quick taste again. That's my bourbon. It has a bit of a bite. Not quite the bite of Knob Creek. It does have some viscosity. It goes down smooth. Not quite to the Wild Turkey 101, but it definitely still has that. Bourbon taste. Delicious. Again, depending on who you are, brown sugar, banana nose, unique, fresh, but not too fresh. It still has that 4-year age note to it, giving it that note like I'm kind of telling about, it's not too light. It's not quite, a fresh, 2-year bourbon, but it's good. Am I going to do an upset? So early times, Bottled and Bond, fantastic. Definitely a go-to. Let me put down the rest of this and just before I say something. Wild Turkey wins the day. Wild Turkey wins the day, and I'm surprised to say that. Wild Turkey wins the day. Early Times Bottle and Bond is fantastic. For the price, fantastic. You can find it still in the 1 liter blue cap bottle. I made sure to actually buy a couple of these today because the one liquor store near me that I know who still has these blue caps said they had 4 left. I took half of them. It's gonna go away. Sazerac has replaced the old Brown-Forman distillate with their own, and they put it into that benchmark kind of, not the benchmark bottle that we showed you before. Actually, no, I take it back. It was the exact same bottle. That was a old number 8 in the 750 milliliter. They're gonna put it in that bottle, and when that happens, reviewers who have way more experience than me across the board have uniformly said, that's not good. What happened there? What is this? Please stop. Early Times, like the blue cap, that it does measure up pretty well to the black cap. There are some big, higher profile whiskey tasters out there who said, the beginning, the first few bottles of this Early Times in the blue cap wasn't as good. But then they might have tweaked it a little bit. They might have throughout the 4 years or so that they've taken it over. They might have kind of changed it, kind of bring it back a little bit, and now it's almost indiscernible. And then hopefully the same happens to the 750 milliliter bottle. Hopefully they bring it back up to snuff so it's not like a rare thing. But these 1 liter bottles, man, they're not easy to find. If you're down by Kentucky or down by the source, they're gone. I think it's only because I'm up in Massachusetts that you still find these a little bit in the wild. And I'm not trying to, cause, and I think everybody says this, I'm not trying to send, like a witch hunt or, trying to break down doors for this bottle, but for the price, I've been looking for something that kind of comes close. And if this ages well, as I go through this bottle with this little cork, it has a cork too. It's not a twist top, it is a cork, be it a softer cork. Yeah, but yeah, softer cork. It's good. It's so good. This could be a replacement, honestly. This could be it. I mean, I like my my Evan Williams Bottle and Bond. There's a very high chance I'm gonna get a bottle of that benchmark number 8 because that was good stuff too. What is it, like cheap? Buffalo Trace kind of going the same direction. Like it's good stuff. It's good stuff. Like I might have that be my mixer, sipper, budget off to the side and just have these bottles, just be for when I'm trying to, treat myself. Excuse me. And that's going to especially go for this Knob Creek. I'm going to take my time on this one for sure. Good, woodsy, beautiful bottle, beautiful texture to it. By a long shot, the most amount I've ever put into it. I mean, I do like the turkey and everything on this one. It's good accenting on it and everything. And of course, Early Times. The only thing that's really popping out is actually the letters on the engraving on the just the label. But beautiful bottle, good bourbon. If you really want a strong bourbon, hard, strong tasting bourbon, that's something that you're gonna kind of like grow into maybe. I'm sure it's more, but here it is in front of me. This is the only one I got left, right? I like that banana note though. That brown sugar. Is it brown sugar? It's a good smell. Another thing I might need to do in these future videos is let these things breathe in the glass a little bit. Now I know that glints are supposed to be the way you go with this, but these cocktail glasses are fantastic for this too. They serve a very similar niche. The only difference is the glint, allows it to kind of contain that bottom kind of chamber, if you will. It kind of, really, really, really kind of builds up in there. And allows you to get the nose even better. But honestly, a cheap cocktail glass like this is going to do you just fine. It'll do you just fine. It smells good. The most bite. The most bite. If you want something with a little bit of a punch to it, Knob Creek is the way to go. All right, like I said, I'm stumbling because I'm like, I like early times, but I like Wild Turkey 101. You know? Hang on. Let's do it. Let's do a little bonus round. A little bonus round. This is blue. This is blue. A little bonus round. Ooh, a little more than I wanted, but I gotta save these bottles, man. I can't be pouring those out too much. There you go. There you go. Can't be pouring them out too much because it's all I got left. It's all that's gonna be left. And we collector's items very soon. So early times, Wild Turkey. This could be like a mano-y-mano head versus head video right here. Let's go. You're getting double the content in one video. Because Knob Creek is just so, I mean, again, Knob Creek, early times, they're kind of going in the same direction, especially with the nose, but early times, let me start with the early times. After putting away a little bit of Knob Creek, it should be much smoother. Let's see what we got here. Yeah. So that made me think. That little sip I just took was my personal feeling, my quintessential what early times taste like. Maybe I'm not giving it enough time, to breathe. Maybe I'm just putting it in a glass and just sipping it down pretty quickly without letting it breathe, because that wasn't as harsh. I think that was right in line with what I'm used to with early times. Whereas on the Wild Turkey side, man, no matter how hard I try to kind of sap some air into it, really make it spike. Because little pro tip for those first starting here, if you want to make the alcohol not burn so much, don't introduce air. Keep your mouth shut. Don't breathe in with your nose. Just suck it down. Let it settle. Give it 5 seconds. And then start breathing in. Because that's when you start introducing air, that's when that spice really starts to take over. And honestly, that freshness is in my face because it's not like a young whiskey by any means. Wild Turkey is right smack dab in the middle in terms of age of these, but it tastes and comes off by a long shot as the freshest and youngest, specifically because of that rye spice that I mentioned maybe 20 minutes ago. That rye character kind of keeps it on that, I'm not hiccuping, I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that. One of my favorite things to do is to kind of set up a continuum, right? On this side, we have, how should we compare rye versus not? Because I'm picking it up really quickly. Okay. So, if you are somebody who likes bourbon, who likes Kentucky straight bourbon, you're going to be on this side, right? If you're somebody who likes Kentucky bourbon, so it's not like they're opposites, or not opposites, right? But in this very narrow spectrum of whiskey, right? So let me step further back, right? If you had Scotch Irish whiskey over here and American bourbon over here, right? The comparison of early times and Wild Turkey is kind of here. They're kind of here, right? They're actually maybe even smaller. This is what it looks like, right? So this is the spectrum we're talking about, right? Full rye being way over here, that's out of the question. That's Dewars, that's the Glenfiddich that we had before. Now is what we're talking about. This chunk of that big continuum that's way back here, this bit, this is what we're fighting about. So to make this into this, right? Let's talk about it. On this side, we have, for the beginner, what does it kind of seem like, right? People say things like leather, wood, oak in that kind of direction, but like that's what it's not off, right? Smelling is a big part of taste. And when you walk into like a Lowe's or a Home Depot, you pick up that smell and you know what things taste like. That's what it is. That's why when you hold your nose and you drink something, it doesn't taste near as much. Your nose is a huge part of your taste. It's most of it, if anything, right? So with that said, if you're looking for that classic charred oak, wood, leather, tobacco, whatever you want to call it, right? In that direction with also good notes, subtle flavor of something else, something that makes it nice and clean and fresh. You're going in the direction of this early times bottle de Mon. If you don't even want to fight that, which I might actually say, why are you into bourbon in the first place? Why aren't you looking for something like an Irish whiskey and going that direction, right? Why aren't you going further left? But if you want, because to really say something really fast, in order for it to be a bourbon, right, it needs to be American oak barrels, not charcoal or whatever filtration like Tennessee whiskey is, right? And at least 50% corn. That's the biggest part. 50% corn, 50% or something else of rye, and then you have the barley / wheats of the world. Those are the three things that make up our whiskeys, right? It needs to be half corn. Most of them are 75 plus corn. Really staple home that American corn, kind of like corn forward, whatever, right? This one has more of a spicy note to it, right? Barley and wheat, those aren't very spicy. Those don't have much to them. They're subtle. They are calmers, if you will, of the drink. So those heavy wheats, they're pretty easy to put down. Rye with the corn and the rye spice, you wouldn't anticipate sometimes it being an easy sipper, but here we are. And if you really push for it, the spice that rye kind of has, you'll taste it. But it's so interesting. It almost feels like a self-correcting kind of mechanism where it gets to a certain point with the spice profile, and it's like, yo, we've had enough. This is where it caps. You're going to enjoy this. We're going to make sure we don't hurt you for having this. And it's so interesting because it goes up. Like every alcohol has its spike, but this one it neuters. It just says this is where it is. We're clean. Don't you worry about it. And that is such an interesting little experience to have, because I don't typically feel that. You know what the experience is? And as somebody who, I'm not a big drinker, right? I'm not a huge person that's into alcohol, but like my experience is mostly beer. It's mostly rum, actually. But I do have some vodka experience. And this reminds me of that vodka experience where it is what it is. It kind of puts itself out there aggressively so. It says, here I am. Here are my tastes. Enjoy them here. Oh, here comes the alcohol. Let's bring everything down. Let's bring it down like 5 notches. And that viscosity, that oiliness. I'm speaking while I'm drinking that little bit, which I don't think I can do with anything else. That is so interesting. Because it's a close vote. I would have said Knob Creek is definitely third place, and then that's just for me. Again, as an amateur, that's just for me. For your seasoned veteran, they might put Knob Creek as first place, and they could be absolutely right. There is nothing I would say against that. These are all great. These are all great. These are all worth the money. I don't want to turn you away from Knob Creek 9 in any way, shape, or form. I haven't talked a lot about it. It's right here. It's not going anywhere. Fantastic. But as somebody who is kind of coming into the game, someone who's learning the ropes, early times versus wild turkey is such sorry. It is such an incredible kind of, for 2 entry-ish level, because you're pushing the $25 profile, right? Once you get into 30 plus, in my opinion, at this point in time, now you're talking about a true mid-grade. It's got to be special. It's got to be special to have your money, because you can, obviously, I keep saying, this one's going away. There are other bourbons that are in this profile, but this kicks ass. This kicks so much ass. I thought early times Bottle and Bond, if I were to say, hey, it's your first time trying something out, if you want to get past the base level stuff, it's probably Evan Williams Bottle and Bond. That's probably my first thing I recommend, because it's just only a smidge more expensive, and it's a bit of an experience because it's caramel notes and everything. But early times, I said, if you could find it, I want you to try that, because that takes your whole base bourbon, which is what Evan Williams kind of is, that experience to the next level. You're gonna smell very clearly, very, very, very clearly, something like banana, brown sugar, all that good stuff. But for an easier bottle to kind of handle, if you're just taking the reins and you're just riding the bowl, if you will, that's early times. Yeah. This was so good. This was so smooth. It was so smooth. It was so viscous. I would say Wild Turkey for a 101 proof, for 101 proof, it goes down so smooth. Almost like vodka, but has taste to it, Like, I like vodka too. Vodka is it's the entry level. It's the base. It's the placebo. That's the word I was looking for. Placebo. It is maybe placebo is not the right way. It is the benchmark. It is the standard of alcohol. It is what alcohol is. And if they do it clean and distill it continuously or a bunch of times, right? All of a sudden that that alcohol ethanol taste kind of goes away, and you have something warm and fuzzy, and something can add a real punch to your drinks while also making you feel good. Wild Turkey 101, and I'm kind of saying, God dang it, here I am putting a little bit more the third time of this one. It's a whiskey. It is absolutely a whiskey. It is absolutely a whiskey. You want something that ain't gonna hurt you, but it's gonna give you a whiskey experience and maybe teach you what rye is kind of like too a little bit? My man, is there a better entry whiskey than Wild Turkey 101? This is my first time trying it too, and I'm telling you this. And the more that I add to the glass, the more that it dries and kind of comes up again, and we do this over and over again. I'm really, really, really mixing this up. I'm really swirling it, really just lapping it up, letting the air hit it, because it's 101 proof, so it's gonna evaporate, which really, really get those senses of those gases, right? And even for that, let's try that. I can't do that with another whiskey. I really tried to make that spike. You saw me do that. I tried to make it spike, and I can still talk through it. It's good. It's good. Wow. is something. This has turned me on to Wild Turkey 101. Especially as a beginner myself, like it doesn't hit too hard. It really doesn't. All right, let's finish up this bottle of Bon early times, and we'll. Don't mind me. I saw something wild out there. What we have going on is a. Let's call it a 4, 5, maybe let's call maybe 6 inches of snow. I don't think it's quite that high yet, but we'll call it like 4 to 5 inches. And I saw someone spin out a little bit outside, but on Route 31/2A's/ what's the other route this is? 13? Oh, that's familiar. This is familiar. This is the one I like. So let me try to do all those things while drinking the one that I do indeed like. Try to talk. Yeah, you can't do that. You can't do that. It's good. And now we're here. And now you get to this level. Yeah, so Wild Turkey 101, you can talk right afterwards. You can lap it up. You can enjoy it. You can go through the whole roller coaster of emotions and feels and everything and be able to talk the whole time. Early times, which I would have said have been a pretty, not a mild is not the right word, but another one of those whiskeys that has good flavor, but doesn't quite go in the direction of, I need to hunker down for a second and take this in. I felt like that was not mild. It was never mild, but it was mild enough to where you could do that. I am wrong. I have just learned that Wild Turkey 101 is definitely leaps and bounds beyond even early times in that regard. But I'm still enjoying it. I'm still feeling it. That's the difference. That's the difference. I can feel and enjoy the early times for way longer. Wild Turkey is here for a good time, but not for a long time. That's kind of the difference. And of course, Knob Creek, that will just stay with you until you forget about it. Yeah. So honestly, as a beginner, that's what the difference is. And hopefully you learned a thing or two. I definitely did during this video. Yeah. What should I say? More videos like this coming through. Obviously, I'm going to bring another Evan Williams bottom to this. What might be a good idea is for me to do that one-on-one versus these bottles and see how it does. Because honestly, that's a pretty good bottle for a very tasty price. And if it just beats everything out, why would you do anything else besides? But until then, I think, wow. I think I have a lot to consider. With this Wild Turkey 101. More experimentation coming your way. I'm so sorry. Well, these are beginner videos. We'll forgive ourselves for these things. I'm posting it anyway, you know I am. It's almost 50 minutes at this point. Yeah. Needless to say, we had a great time with this video. Hopefully you did too. Subscribe for more, especially if you're a gamer, and I'll catch you guys next time. Thank you so much. Have a great night.